Africa's investment world. This podcast is brought to you by Daba, your most comprehensive platform for investing in African stocks, bonds, and managed funds. You can download the Daba app on your favorite Google and Apple app stores. The market is holding steady with positive momentum, the index is advanced, and several banking stocks delivered some of the strongest performances of the day. Yes, banks once again confirmed their leading role for investors in West Africa. Let's start with the main indicators. The BRVM Composite Index, which measures the overall trend across all listed companies, closed at 322.42 points. That's a daily increase of 0.13% and an impressive year-to-date gain of 16.81%. This shows the market is still on a solid upward path in 2025, despite some sector corrections. The BRVM 30 Index, which tracks the 30 largest companies, ended at 160.04 points, up 0.25%. This signals continued confidence in the market's flagship stocks. Meanwhile, the BRVM Prestige Index, which groups companies recognized for transparency and strong disclosure practices, dipped slightly to 135.64 points, a decline of 0.45% on the day. But importantly, it is still up 18.11% since January. For investors, these figures mean the market overall continues to offer growth potential with a balance between stability and opportunity. The equity market capitalization stood at 12,131 billion francs CFA, up 0.13%. This shows the total value of listed companies continues to expand, a positive sign of confidence. Trading volume reached about 578,000 shares, up 6.14%, while the transaction value jumped to 1.33 billion francs CFA, representing a sharp rise of 47.72% compared to the previous day. In plain words, investors were far more active, and that added liquidity is a healthy sign for the market. Now let's dive into the day's top gainers, and once again, banks are leading the charge. At the top, Société Ivoirienne de Banque, SIBC, surged 7.49% to close at 5,810 francs CFA. Since the start of the year, the stock has gained 63.43%. For investors, this confirms that the Ivoirian banking sector remains a driver of performance, supported by strong deposit growth and rising credit demand. Next, Bank of Africa Côte d'Ivoire, BOAC, rose 7.44% to 7,010 francs CFA. Since January, the stock is up 50.35%. Investors holding this stock have seen exceptional returns, proving that Bank of Africa's regional presence and diversification continue to pay off. Third place goes to Safca Côte d'Ivoire, which advanced 7.33% to 1,245 francs CFA. Year-to-date, the stock has soared 72.92%. Though smaller and less well-known than the big banks, Safca is gaining attention thanks to its strong position in agribusiness. We also saw the Loterie Nationale du Benin rise 4.87% to 4,200 francs CFA. Although still down 11.21% since January, this rebound shows renewed investor confidence. And finally, Total Energies Marketing Côte d'Ivoire advanced 3.70% to 2,385 francs CFA. Even though the annual performance remains slightly negative, this rebound is an encouraging signal for investors in the energy and distribution sector. In short, the winners of the day show clearly that banking stocks are pulling the market higher, with support from energy and industrial players. Of course, not everything was positive. Some stocks lost ground significantly. Unilever Côte d'Ivoire fell 7.50% to 23,745 francs CFA. But let's keep this in context. The stock is still one of the best performers of the year, up 206.72% since January. For investors, this correction after such an extraordinary rally is not surprising. Oragroup Togo dropped 6.17% to 1,750 francs CFA, extending its year-to-date loss to 8.85%. This reflects concerns about regional profitability. Ecobank Transnational Incorporated, listed in Togo, declined 5.56% to 17 francs CFA, even though it remains up 6.25% since January. This volatility is tied to quarterly results and investor expectations. Sucrivoire slid 3.28% to 1,025 francs CFA, although it remains up 70.97% year-to-date. And Société de Caoutchouc de Grand Bérébi, SOGB, fell 3.06% to 7,600 francs CFA, though still up 64.86% since the start of the year. Looking at the sectors, financial services gained 0.65%, underlining the strength of banks. Energy rose even more, up 1.90%, supported by Total Energies and Vivo Energy. On the other hand, basic consumer goods fell 1.42%, and industrials declined 0.54%. This reminds investors that not all sectors move in the same direction, and diversification remains crucial. Now, let's turn to the bond market. Here, trading slowed sharply, with only 49 transactions totaling less than 500,000 francs CFA. This shows a temporary pause in activity. But the key story is what's coming next. The Treasury of Mali is preparing to list new 10-year and 8-year bonds later this month. These securities will expand the offering and give investors additional options for medium and long-term stable returns. Existing bonds remain broadly stable, with only minor technical adjustments. For investors, this means bonds remain a reliable way to secure steady income. For both retail and institutional investors, the bond market remains an attractive diversification tool, especially given the current yields on offer. So, what does all this mean for you as an investor? First, the momentum in equities remains solid, especially in banking. If you hold shares in companies like SIBC or BOAC, your portfolio has benefited from strong growth. Second, the volatility seen in stocks like Unilever or Sucrivoire is not a sign of weakness, but a normal correction after large rallies. The lesson here is patience and discipline. Finally, bonds remain a safe anchor for any portfolio. Don't underestimate their importance, especially with new sovereign issues coming soon. To navigate these markets successfully, you need the right tools. That's exactly what Daba Pro offers, the premium subscription from Daba Finance. With Daba Pro, you get weekly investment recommendations, in-depth stock analysis, exclusive market data, and even reduced fees on your investments. With Daba Pro, you don't just follow the markets, you stay ahead of them. That's all for today's episode. Thanks for listening to the Daba Markets Talk podcast. We'll be back tomorrow with another update. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating, follow us, and share with friends. Remember, this information is for educational purposes. Always do your own research or consult with a financial advisor before making investment decisions. And download the Daba app on your App Store to start investing in African stocks, bonds, and manage portfolios through your phone and find other helpful content. Until next time, keep learning and keep growing your financial knowledge.